Welcome back to our coffee chat series. My name is Hope Ukebu Mikil, and today we will be discussing a sector that is the literal heartbeat of Nigeria. As of early 2026, agriculture contributes nearly 24% to Nigeria's GDP and remains our largest employer with over 25 million Nigerians. That's about 30% of our total workforce working in farming, fishing, and forestry. We see digital transformation everywhere from Lagos to Abuja and across many sectors, but agriculture often feels left behind.
Joining us today is Mr. Isah Raphael, founder and managing director of Greysoft Technologies Limited, a Nigerian technology and innovation company that is driving digital transformation across agritech, across TVET, and across renewable energy sectors. Today, we're going to be exploring how technology is transforming agribusiness in Nigeria. We'll be discussing the barriers that are preventing many farmers from adopting these tools and practical steps for them to begin integrating digital solutions to their operations. Welcome to the session, Mr. Isaac.
Thank you very much, Hope. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll just dive right in to the
Yeah.
session. So, your experience supporting agri businesses, how would you describe the current state of digital adoption in Nigeria? I know that the market is growing very fast in Nigeria. Statistics are already showing how we've hit millions in dollars already this year. But are we really reaching the millions of small farm holders who actually grow our food? How is technology transforming farming and agribusiness in Nigeria?
Yeah, thank you, Hope. I think over the years we've seen some, especially recently, we've seen a lot of improvements in technology adoption in the agri space. Because before now, interestingly, it was traditional. Most of our farmers, try to stay with the old ways of farming, using hose, handkerchief-sized farms, and that's why we have a lot of smallholder farmers as against, the big size, farmers that will farm for commercials and import. So a lot of our farmers are farming for subsistence, farming. But you see, beyond that, what we also see is that most farmers, are unable to get things like venture capitals or equity funding, which is not like in direct comparison to other sectors like the fintech sector, the edtech sector, and the likes. You see, because of that sort of subsistent traditional farming, like they did during the days of my grandfather, you see that we can't have transparency in farming. We cannot see end to end what the traction is, and all of that. We can't predict anything. And whatever is not transparent cannot be insured. Whatever cannot be insured can hardly be invested in by equity. People cannot come and say, okay, I've looked at your model, I've seen how you farm, and based off of that, I should be able to take 20% of your business and put it. You can hardly say that about farms, okay? But as we go on and start to have the conversations that we're currently having with all the, agribusiness stakeholders across various value chains, we are seeing technology adoption in recent times. You look at companies like Hello Tractor. Well, shout out to them. That's free advert right there. You see that with Hello Tractor's model, most smallholder farmers are able to now afford tractor services. And so that means that they're able to farm larger size farms, and so you can predict, that, okay, these guys will be able to complete, working this or plowing or tilling the soil in this particular amount of time, which is usually not the case, before. We also see things like financial inclusion. There's been a heavy rise of digital wallets, so farmers are able to, get access to funding, grants, and whatever it is from federal governments, from development finance institutions, without the need for middlemen who may shortchange them or, try to, go around them. And this is usually a problem, with them. We also see things like supply chain visibility. Okay, so there are apps now where farmers are able to directly from the farm access, processing centers or buyers and all of that. And this, of course, increases, their profitability, increases their will to do more, to farm more, and also all of this together is helping to achieve food sovereignty. And in general, we see that there's a strong adoption for technology, and it's not moving at the pace, that I think we can definitely do better. But I think in general, there's been an upward trend.
Okay, thank God. It means that we've come a long way.
Yeah.
When I say a long way,
Yeah.
with technology adoption for agriculture. Thank you so much for that very detailed description. So moving on to the next question, there's a striking contrast. On the one hand, we have, the spectral technology that can analyze crop health and needs. And on the other hand, we have these small farm holders, as I mentioned earlier on, who still rely on word of mouth.
Yeah.
And then there's recent data that have shown that precision farming can boost yields by up to 30%. But yet, only a small fraction of farmers in Nigeria use these tools. To be honest, it's probably because they don't really understand how these tools work. Could you please walk us through how technology can help farmers and even food businesses?
Yeah. So, depending on the kind of challenge that you have, so first of all, I think one interesting thing happened late last year when we had the roundtable business meeting, at Kaduna Business, with the federal government, with the state government last year. By the time we were done, the All Farmers Association of Nigeria, AFAN, they just walked up to me and said that, look, they had this challenge, with their farmers, and they want technology solution. They were specific for it, that if we could build something for them. And, I stopped them right there, first of all, and I registered my appreciation that this is so beautiful. They were surprised. I said, look, it is interesting to see farmers walk up to a technology service provider and say that, look, we need this technology service. I've never, the usual story is that tech boys, or tech guys go ahead and maybe some of them do feasibility studies. Most don't. They just build something and they start trying to find buyers. But to see farmers come together, and I was asking them, hey, what's the size of your farming community? They said they have over 1 million farmers. I'm like, beautiful. Can you assure that 100,000 people will use this product? They said, super sure. That's interesting to begin to see that the trend of farmers we have nowadays are able to acknowledge that they have this problem and they believe that technology can solve it. So you see, that belief alone is the beginning of problem solving. So let's go to your question directly. If you look at weather apps, which is really for farming, which is really one of the most popular ones, it helps with what is called precision farming, right? And what that does for farmers basically is that it helps them know when to plant, when to fertilize. And this is super important because it'll save you costs. There's the instance where because planting is usually done in rainy season, and at such time you need to really understand when it is going to rain. If you fertilize your plant just before it rains, the rain will come and wash it away. Fertilizers are very expensive, are super expensive. You can't be fertilizing just when it's about to rain. You need to know that you need to be certain that today that I'm going to apply this thing, it's not going to rain, right? So that when you put it, it goes down, into the soil at the point where it is supposed to, and then it can rain afterwards, maybe the next day or so, and all of that. But if it rains just immediately, you've added that, you've lost millions, just by not being able to, do that properly. Planting as well, yeah, there are apps that helps you to know when exactly, to plant. Is the humidity right? Is the soil pH right? And all of that. These are things that technology does, really helps. All of that. There are apps, that also helps, like FarmWise. FarmWise is, helps for pricing. And what that does, with farmers when they harvest, for example, is that it gives them bargaining power. So you see the issue of these middlemen, coming to farmers in their farms and negotiating their products, their produce, and telling them, hey, we're going to buy a bag of grain for 15,000 naira. Meanwhile, they are aiming a farmer's market at Kanswam Magani, where they want to sell that for 50,000 naira, a bag of grain, right? So if these farmers, all they have to do is to take this FarmWise app, for example, whatever app it is that they're using, look at the various maize farm market, look at what the obtainable price is. When this guy is pitching 15,000 naira, he looks at them and say, hey, it's selling for 50K there. Why will you come and price my stuff? So it gives them some bargaining leverage, and all. This is what technology does, and the good thing, like I said, is that farmers are beginning to come, up the hill, step by step, little by little, and all of that. So technology indeed brings, such a beautiful game changer. Things like post-harvest loss, as well. When farmers are able to check for market demand, first of all, before they even harvest, it does a lot of, for example, if you have perishables, you plant onions, you plant tomatoes and all of that. If you harvest where there is no demand, in the week where the market is not on, the tomato market is not selling. Storing tomato for 1 week without a proper, cold storage and all of that, what damage that can do. Yeah, in the south, southern part, southwest part, because you get what is called budget tomato, right? But if you have these things that
Yeah.
can predict for you, where you can see, where the markets are, is there a tomato market, stuff, and you can harvest and go straight, and all of that, or you have access to where the various cold storage are for this, and you want to store and all of that with apps, which is ready, where there's space, where you can access stuff. Beautiful technology make those things available. Okay, so again, that answers that question as far how technology has come so far.
Okay, that's very amazing. From
Yeah,
what you said, we can see that there is a segment of farmers, small farm holders, that have already seen the value of what technology can do for them in
yeah,
improving their farming experience, their agribusiness experience. But then there is also this other segment of farmers, especially the ones in the rural community,
mhm,
that probably have no idea
yeah,
about what tech can do for them. And then in Nigeria, we have like over 220 million active mobile lines. This means to me that the hardware is probably in the hands of these farmers,
yeah,
these small farmers, but
mm,
the adoption of even basic agritech apps like the weather app you mentioned earlier,
yeah.
it's very low, very low. And I don't think that a lot of these farmers are aware of these digital market services. So, in your opinion, what's the real barrier? Is it the cost of data? Is it digital literacy? Or is there a fundamental trust issue?
Mm.
Why would a farmer be very comfortable to use their smartphone for other things, other
Mhm,
activities,
mhm, mhm.
but then they'll be hesitant to use it for their agribusiness or to just improve their whole process?
Awesome, thanks for that. And you've just really mentioned what it is. These three components you mentioned are exactly what the thing is, but I'll get down to them. Digital literacy, trust, and cost are really the key problem that smallholder farmers face. And in terms of digital literacy, most farmers understand the basic things with phones. They can do the very little things, the basics. They can make calls, they can send messages, they can, do all of that. But when it goes in depth, like to check weather charts, to read market trends, and all of that, and to really use the apps that were maybe specifically designed for particular things, they begin to have some issues. So digital literacy is such a big problem, that needs to be solved. So I think, and of course, some development institutions are already doing that, like hosting trainings for smallholder farmers to learn how to use basic things in their phones that can really help them, and also train with some of the apps that are currently available that will really help them, and so on and so forth. So digital literacy is a great barrier. The second is trust. Um, because these guys are a sort of a excluded community of people. They are people who live within themselves in their village, I mean, I'm talking about most smallholder farmers, the larger number of them, and because of that, their trust lies in their circle. If you're walking in, from some city with some fine boy briefcase package, and you think that you're just going to walk in and give them a digital device for them to put their information inside, issues. Because again, when you are doing KYC or the regular due diligence for farmers to sign up, you're going to be requesting for a lot of things. You're requesting for their names. Sometimes you're requesting for their BVN, their NIN, their stuff, because you need to verify them and all of that, that they're actually existing in such places. This has, and note that by the time that these guys were being registered by the BVN, by the banks, BVN, or by the federal government for the NIN, they also told them to be careful who they gave these numbers to, right? So this trust becomes such a big issue, like, and all of that. So there's need to, oftentimes the way to go around that is to go through their community leaders, and all of that, who usually is more educated, or at least has around him advisors and people who can really verify such a person who is coming to them and so. Or oftentimes again, religious leaders, people who the community trusts. They say, okay, well, these guys are coming here to get these things from us. They claim to want to help us. Can you verify that they are genuine and all of that? And if that happens, so you go through that route, you are usually very likely to have a good sensitization program, and then it will translate into adoption of whatever you want. And finally, is cost. This digital infrastructure oftentimes do not come cheap, because again, a lot of them have to be subscribed to. That's one. Then for most of them to work, it's not the usual touchlight phone, that you use with them. You need to use a smartphone. But interestingly, again, like I said, most farmers are beginning to acquire smartphones. Most farmers belong to WhatsApp groups, Telegram groups now, because again, this communities that they form, the farmer associations, and all of that is farmer clusters as well, that helps them to form the critical mass that is required to get grants or assistance from government and all of that, and requires that they form a body so that they can also you pass on information that's required, and all of these things. So most of them are beginning to, like I said, there are also these trainings going on, by development institutions to help smallholder farmers. So we see a growth in that as well. So these are current problems that they face, but truth of the matter is that little by little they are coming in it. But the greatest news of all is that as they get above all of these things, it'll automatically, help fast track where we're headed, especially as per food sovereignty, as per greater farming revenue, both nationally and individually, and all wise.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
That's very, very interesting. Okay, so I know you've told the story about when like the body of farmers association in Nigeria trying to use a digital tool that can help them, which means that I mean a lot of farmers, a lot of organizations around farming are interested in digital adoption for the farming process and agribusiness experience. But do you have like a smaller story of probably a small farmer who has used tech in the past and has seen, the value for their farming, even if it's at something as small as the smartphone? Because in Nigeria, like you mentioned around cost, a lot of this technology cannot really, the small farm holders cannot really access them. They cannot afford them, especially when it comes to precision equipment.
Yep.
Or technology. So do you have any story around any farmer that has used tech, even if it's as simple as a smartphone, to improve their farming?
So at a very basic level, farmers are enjoying WhatsApp groups and Telegram groups. See, at that very level, farmers who are in WhatsApp groups and Telegram groups in certain farming clusters get information that they otherwise would have been excluded from. That's technology right there. WhatsApp's the technology, Telegram's technology. They are there, and if there are new programs, improve seeds, if there are trainings, if there are things that benefits them, access to market information and all of that, new buyer in town that wants to buy off in bulk, aggregators, and all of these things, they get this news, from those places. They otherwise would have been excluded from these opportunities. So that is super powerful. It also helps them really aggregate, and form associations, without having to do regular meeting where they otherwise will have to have burnt their fuel in their bikes, to go and have meetings, and all of that. And of course, that gives them a lot of success story. But beyond that, there is also there's this company called Cold Hub, and what they do basically is that they offer this cold room services, for perishables like tomato and onions. That Cold Hub is solar powered, and all of that, and it's in farms, and that as simple as that technology is, it has helped farmers, who are selling perishables like tomatoes and onions, for example, to store their stuff, at that very level, and has really reduced a lot of post-harvest loss. So yeah, at very little levels like that, we see farmers who have opened up to technology, who pay for data, for example, or pay for the meager fee of keeping my tomato for 1 week, for 2 weeks, and stuff and all of that. They've been able to reap from it, and they're super excited about the successes that they have. So I think, yes, we're getting there.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the middleman problem. We know that in open market, farmers who grow their crops themselves, when they come to the market, they usually earn between 20,000 naira to like 100,000 naira monthly during sales season. And they don't really have the direct link to big buyers. So how do digital platforms change this power dynamic? And what digital skills do you think that these farmers need in order to take advantage of online markets and other farm management technology?
Yeah. All right. So, in terms of digital skills, or digital platforms in general, they indeed change, the dynamics. They do. And, and that's basically eliminating the middleman. The middleman is the big problem for farmers, right? Like I said, they come to the farmers, buy it for so little, and take it out there, sell for so much, and then shortchange farmers and all of that. And this has been an age-long problem, and that's the center of innovation, and all of that. So, but you see, again, we address the problem of digital skills when we're talking about barriers just earlier on, and for me, straight off the top of my head, the some of the key digital, skill I think any farmer should have will be the very basic, data literacy, for example. Be able to read a weather chart, which is usually, if you have a smartphone, and it's right there on your phone. You can see what the temperature is. And if you click that, it opens the entire chart for you. You're able to see, is it going to rain tomorrow? Is it going to rain? You should be able to tap just by looking at those cloud that they drawn and rain coming down. You should be able to know that that's rain and what date is that? Is it going to rain? Be able to try to start using it. Be able to read weather charts. But beyond weather charts, you're able to read market trend as well. Just an X and Y coordinate and say a commodity on one hand and price on the other hand. Is this price going up? Is this price going down? Well, should I, and based off of that, you'll be able to make a couple of. So the data literacy is key. Then social media marketing, or what we call digital marketing. Farmers should be able to use Facebook, WhatsApp, whatever it is, to make their solutions available to, their produce available. Once you
Okay.
harvest, upload this on social media, for example, and let people see it. You belong to what? Maybe some farming group, farming cluster stuff and all of that. Be able to snap, you have a smartphone, snap your produce, upload it, and write, I don't harvest, and stuff and all of that. That's it. Be able to do
Well,
that. You reach one person at least. You reach two people. You might reach 100. You might reach 1,000 people. Be able to do that. It's an art. Then one really super interesting one is cyber safety. Right. We talked about earlier on digital wallets as helping for the financial inclusion and all of that. But if you are just enrolled into that just because of financial inclusion and you don't master how to, keep your information safe, um, ensure that your apps, for example, or whatever it is that you're using on such phones is protected and is not easily entered by suspecting people, you may still lose your stuff, right? And all of that. If you are, all of these things. So cyber safety, digital marketing, data literacy, for me, are the top three things that I believe that farmers, need to really take seriously. And they need a lot of enlightenment, on that as well.
thank you very much for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
Just aside,
Yeah.
you've mentioned a couple of tools. Farm-wise, you mentioned Hello Tractor. Is there any other basic tool that farmers can start using to find immediately, like especially around the price of commodity? What other tools are there that farmers can access?
Yeah, so there's digital green, there's farm metrics, these are some really good farm apps that I think can really help farmers. For now, off the top of my head, that I think that I would really recommend for farmers. Yeah.
So thank you very much. At least we have four
Yeah.
of them in order. I think five. We have the farm wise, we have Hello Tractor, we have the digital green you mentioned, the farm metric. You also have your normal smartphone, the weather apps on
Yeah.
your normal smartphone that can tell you when it's going to rain and when it's not going to.
Yeah.
And to be honest, these are basic tools that anybody can use. I know that you cannot expect a traditional farmer to become like a data scientist
Yeah.
overnight or being able to read the data. However, if they can use their small smartphone for social media, they're already halfway there. And I think it's just for majority of them is the mindset that we need to be teaching,
Yeah.
to accept these tools.
Yeah.
And so we're coming to the end of the session. Thank you so much, Mr. Ita, for all of your insights
Thank you.
so far. But before we go, for the benefit of one agribusiness owner or one farmer who probably is watching us today and is interested in using tech to improve their processes, what is the one practical step that you can take today? What would you advise them to do?
Yeah, so thank you. I've had a great time having this conversation with you, and thanks for the opportunity to share some of our knowledge with people who are watching this, or who will be watching this. So yeah, if you are a player in the agri space, whether small or big, my simple advice would be that you join a farming cluster, join an agribusiness cluster. There are a lot of groups, on LinkedIn, on Telegram, WhatsApp, and all of that. Find and join the kind of information that's going on there, the kind of opportunities, the kind of access to market, the kind of data that you are missing with, is crazy. I belong to a couple of them, and I can just tell you, like, there's a data overload. You can't sit down and say there's nothing happening. No, you don't know. You don't know. And also, if you are looking to make things happen, you should join one or start one. You can also, if there's a new line you're pursuing, maybe you're looking at climate smart agriculture or something, whatever it is, start one, all right? Gather like minds and all of that. And once you reach a critical mass, you can begin to access funding or access, whatever it is that you need to push your initiative or your dream and goals forward. Then also try to attend summits and conferences, that are agri focused. And so, since I'm here already, I'll use the opportunity to advertise the the agritech conference coming up in May. So there's a Kaduna agritech conference that is annual. It's coming up in May this year in Kaduna, and you're all invited to be there. All the key agri stakeholders will be gathering too, including development finance institutions, policymakers, farmers, and the likes. Hopefully, we'll be there. Right. So get ready and come meet people, get investments into your businesses, and connect, learn, and see what's going on around you as far as agribusiness and agri-tech is concerned. And the future is yours for the taking. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You've
Yeah.
heard it here, everyone. There's the Kaduna Agribusiness conference that's coming up in May. Make sure that you're part of it. Mr. Isa, where can we find information about the conference?
You can go to agritech.greysoft.ng. Agritech.greysoft.ng. You should find information there.
Thank you so much. Thank
Yeah.
you, everyone. We're also going to drop that information along with the video on YouTube. So be on the lookout for it in the description. So
Okay.
this brings us to the end of today's coffee chat session. It's
Yeah.
very clear from this conversation that digital transformation in agriculture does not always have to involve complex or expensive technologies. Sometimes the most impactful changes begin with simple tools that give us access to real-time weather updates, transparent market pricing, and even the ability to connect directly with buyers through, social media and other digital platforms. And so for farmers and agribusiness owners across Nigeria that are integrating digital tools into everyday operation, this could mean improved productivity and ultimately better income opportunities. And beyond just access to the tools, this conversation has also highlighted, the growing importance of digital skills. Because having the technology is one thing, but knowing how to use it effectively is what truly drives value. And we hope that this session has provided you useful insights and practical ideas, for anybody that is looking for how they can improve their farming experience or manage their agricultural products or even distribute it, to their main buyers. Thank you so much, Mr. Isa, for joining us today and for sharing this incredible and insightful knowledge.
Thank you so much, Hope. I had a great time, really.
Thank you. I had a great time too. And thank you to our audience that's watching. And please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more conversations on how digital skills and digital tools can support your business growth. Until next time, let's keep building smarter. Bye.